Next 8 questions, part 2, from question number 9 through number 16. Question number 9. In a Java web application, it is allowed to use a logical name of a servlet as a welcome file. First, we know the logic URL pattern, right? So logical name of servlet means the URL pattern. Excuse me. Sorry. URL pattern of a servlet. But if you use that URL pattern, you cannot find a physical file corresponding to that location. We know URL pattern usually corresponds some path. So you can follow the path to get the location, right? Take a look and look at that. But logical name, you cannot find any physical file there. The question is, for a welcome file, do we need to have a physical file in that particular location? So that property, okay? Here I do not tell you the answer, but you need to think about that. All right, next question. The current version Spring MVC framework allows us to make a controller a pujo. Okay, so we did a similar question before. I just, change the wording, the way to ask question a little bit. Pretty much very close to the old question. Here, make controller pujo, remember annotation. Annotation way for controller. All right. Number 11, a Java annotation without any element. Marker, that without any element. Just at annotation name. Nothing inside parentheses. Inside parentheses, certain number of elements. But this one, no element. Okay, in a Java class, could be still useful for some special purpose. So think about if we can use no element type annotation to do something special. So that's the meaning. Next question, number 12. In a Spring MVC application, if you want to call different methods in a controller, you have to use different URL patterns. So another question I modify from the old question. Here I change a different way. Here, calling different methods. Do you have to use different URL? In other words, if you use the same URL, can you call different methods? Right? So that's the relationship to our old version. Similar question. Next one, we need to parse structured data in our Java applications, but we want to avoid using complicated parsers. Some parsers could be very complicated. Which of the following ways should we choose? So this one, another, I modify old version question. So it should be pretty easy. So you can compare with the old version, the midterm, old version. Number 14, when we use multiple MVC frameworks in a Java web application, is it a good idea to use different URL patterns for their corresponding front controllers to distinguish those frameworks? Each front controller, we can assign a particular URL pattern, right? But here, we have multiple MVC frameworks. Okay, so let's say 3. Yeah. Framework 1, should we assign URL pattern 1 to framework 1, URL pattern 2 to framework 2, and so on. Yeah. So that's the meaning. Yeah. Last page, question number 15. When we run a Java web application, the JVM needs to load certain Java classes into the JVM. Which of the following ways is correct? Yeah. This one I need to explain a little more, because this one related to a concept called a class loader concept. Class loader concept for a Java web application. So what's that? So here, let me use the Tomcat as the example. So for Tomcat, okay, suppose you have a Tomcat installation directory. Inside Tomcat, there is a lib folder, lib lib folder. So that is the first location to be searched by the class loader. Class loader, some tool inside JVM. So this tool will search your Java classes in these 3 different locations. The first one is Tomcat installation directory / lib folder. The second location, your web application. Yeah, your web application has a folder, right? Yeah. So here, let me use web app. Your web app folder. Now, inside your web app folder, you have this web -rnf lib. That's the second one. The third one, still your web app web -rnf / classes, your compiled Java classes. Let me just write clearly. Classes, all the compiled Java classes stored in that folder. These 3 locations, so the class loader will search these 3 locations for the Java classes needed. Okay, so that's the background. Now all the Java classes that can be accessed by the class loader, these 3 locations can be accessed. Other than these 3 locations, cannot be accessed. Okay, cannot be accessed. All right, yeah. By the class loader will be loaded into. So here, all the Java classes. Okay, all the Java classes in these 3 locations will be loaded automatically. So that's the first statement. Second statement, all those Java classes that are accessible by class loader then add another restriction. So what's the restriction? And are used in this web application will be loaded into JVM. In other words, if a Java class file, even if it is in this one of the 3 locations here, but it is never used in your Java web application, then it won't be loaded by the JVM, by the class loader. That's the second statement. Yeah. Now you need to really think about carefully which statement is correct. Statement number 1 is correct, or statement number 2 is correct. Okay? Yeah. All right, so that's the question number 15. The last one, number 16. Which of the following Java EE design patterns is directly related to the loose coupling concept? Loose coupling, so you know the meaning, right? Loose coupling, okay? dependencies, object, right? Service class, object, the relationship, loose coupling, right? Setters, setter way, do the injection, right? That kind of background. Yeah. Then A, B, C, D, 4 design patterns. Select the one that is closely related to this concept. Okay, so that's it. Yeah. So that's our part 2. Then our last part 3, the remaining 9 questions, part 3.